right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm the pissed off parent. I wanted to, well, I just got my privileges back from good old Facebook, so I'm able to start streaming. And I'm also wanting to help out another person with getting their streaming service going. I'd like to be more the guy behind the scenes in ways. But what I wanted to do, kind of on my pissed off parent Facebook page, is give everybody kind of an idea of who I am. To also kind of do an intro and a walkthrough of the Pissed Off Parent website because there was a lot of free information on there that is updated sometimes hourly that people can use to handle their own case, get some generalized advice, learn what's happening in the world of equal shared parenting and child support and parental alienation and all those things, as well as at times get a good laugh, or at least I like to think so because I like to make. I'm a sarcastic person by nature, so I like to create memes and jokes and things like that. But wanted to give also a quick history of kind of who I am, because as I think some other things are heating up, people are kind of like trying to figure out who I am and all that. I figured this would be a great opportunity to kind of talk to you who I am. I'm a 50-year-old guy. I grew up in a small little town outside of Missouri. Went to Orchard Farm for the folks that are from that area and know that joke about finding out what high school you went to. Um, and I grew up, I want to say, in the 70s and 80s and typical things there. And trials, tribulations, had all that. And about, 9 years ago, well, longer than that, but it was 9 years ago, I went through a divorce. I had a certain idea of how the world worked. I had an idea of how the judicial system worked and how police worked and legislators and all these things. And going through the family court system changed that. I'm assuming I'll be speaking to the choir, as most of the people that visit Pissed Off Parent are hurting parents that are trying to get answers and things like that. So easy to say I'm one of you. So I went through that process, and as I was going through it, I just started. I'm a data guy by nature. I do a lot of web design, internet stuff, and everything. And a data-driven person. So that kind of is what dictates kind of how I do things, is based on the data. So I started investigating and getting information, and said to myself, "Wow, had I known this, had this information been readily available when I was going through my adventure, um, it would have helped me make decisions, would have helped me on how to handle certain aspects of it." And that's kind of spawned into Pissed Off Parent. A lot of what Pissed Off Parent is that it was a promise I made to my kids, because as I was going through it, I told myself that I don't want anyone else to go through it, let alone my children. And so I have two boys from my first marriage, and it was just, again, seeing that what was happening. I wanted to make things better for them, and which I think is a goal of every parent. So anyway, to give a quick history, and it's actually on my website, how Pissed Off Parent came to be. Um, when I was going through everything, I reached out to other organizations. There actually are a lot of other organizations out there that talk about equal shared parenting, parental alienation, child support scam, and things like that, parenting things all over the place. And it just it didn't fit me. Not to say that. Well, I mean, there's areas of it. I mean, everyone's human, everyone's imperfect, but it just, those places just didn't sit with me. They, I don't want to name anyone by name because they all do good work in their own areas. But you have I saw these flowery designs, and I'm here for the kids, which I'm here for the kids too. But it was just too nice, and I was pissed off when I went through what I went through. I got pissed. When I saw my lawyer, when I saw the judge, when I saw all these different things happening, it pissed me off. And as I was sitting there, I went, website design idea, pissedoffparent.com. I mean, that makes perfect sense. It's who I am. And to talk about the logo, I do get a lot of questions on the logo. What's the anchor thing? What is all that? Well, if you actually look at it, what it is, it's a navy anchor, and there's a little black thing in there that it's actually a needle and thread. And what that is my dad was in the Navy. He was a great guy, and I can honestly say that if it wasn't for him during my growing up years, I probably wouldn't be here, and I certainly wouldn't be a tenth of what I think I am today, for good or for bad. And anyway, he was a Navy veteran, served in Vietnam, and I wanted to honor him. Another person was my grandmother. She was a seamstress out of Missouri. And another person that had an impact on my life, and I wanted to honor her memory. Actually, I don't know if I can lean back here, but I actually have a tattoo, actually my only tattoo ever, of actually my wife and all my kids. And let's see if I can go up here enough, but you'll see it actually has an anchor and a seamstress thread on it. That's, again, how much I inked my body. It's a tattoo I've wanted for, well, about not 50 years, but for a long time. And that is what I honor my family. And that's the way I decided to show it. So that's kind of the high level of why, of Pissed Off Parent, how it came to me. And there's obviously more detail in there, but I don't want to bore any viewers or anyone that's on here. They probably want to get to the meat of it. So for Pissed Off Parent, it's again a website that again, as I collected information, I was working with other organizations because I was trying to help out. I have a gift of technology, or at least I think I do. And I wanted to share that to get that information out to other people because, I don't know about you, but it was some dark times. Men, and again, this is for men and women. This isn't just a men's thing. I get accused of, well, all kinds of things at this point, but this is a pissed off parent, not a pissed off dad, not a pissed off mom, not a pissed off whatever you want to be today. It's a pissed off parent. And I was collecting this information, and again, aside from wanting to help my kids and things like that, I said, wow, if this information was available to other people, it would hopefully at least show them that when they went into court and they had all this evidence and they had all this information, their spouse cheated on them, whatever, and the judge said, essentially, you're a bad parent. We're going to give the custody to the other parent, and we're going to put you on some crazy child support, and you're going to be on supervised visitation, and yada, 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 yada. You walk out of there with your entire world destroyed, and you don't know why. The information I was collecting, had I had that information originally, it would have helped out at the earlier phases, but it gave me some peace, telling me that I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a bad parent. I'm not a bad this. I was able to understand why the system is set up the way it is. And to quote G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle. And I'm sorry for anyone that doesn't get 80s references, but that's pretty much how I talk, is in 80s references and music and things like that. It's part of my one of my mental issues, I guess. But it taught me that this information, showed me that it wasn't about me. I wasn't a bad person, no matter what they said. I was a victim of the system. And of course, the person that I am is, well, I found this information out. I've got to make it better. I've got to teach other people. I've got to make things better for other people and hopefully try to improve everything. It's safe to say, if you do view the contents of my website, I went through the appropriate uh, channels. I reached out to legislators, attorneys, judges. I talked to Governor Abbott. I've talked to Huffins. I've talked to a number of people at that level, but then I started learning more and more and more about they already know this information. This is information that everybody knows, and they figured out why, or I figured out why they weren't doing it. All about the money, Title 4D, and things like that, and all the money that comes through. And I'm like, no, we've got to fix it. Well, I'm an army of one, and the way to get other people to change their mind or to do that is to get information out to them, and then have them vote the bad people out and keep the good people in. That's a pretty simple process. So again, I've rambled a bit, but going over to pissedoffparent.com, that's been a collection over the years of all of the data and information, and trying to share that message with people. So what I wanted to do is walk through the website so people can kind of see what's on there, help them if they're dealing with a particular issue. They can go to that area, learn about it a little bit more, and reach out, find other organizations, and get help. There's a lot of data in here. Again, it's going to be a very data-driven website, and hopefully this will help people understand, one, what happened to them, why it's happening, and hopefully how to fix it. So, I do have a request here, and of course, get on the mailing site. If you go to pissedoffparent.com, you're greeted with this image, and you get on the mailing list if you'd like to. I don't bombard people. I don't sell the information. I don't give the information away to other groups or things like that. It's if I can get a database of folks that generally want to get information. I in the future, I'm hoping to be able to automatically send them information to keep them updated on things that are happening or whatever. It's just holding that information out there. So the website is broken out. I tried to make it a portal of sorts that's national. And actually, just so everyone knows, this issue with custody and child support and all that, it is a worldwide problem. Every continent, every state, they are all the same with varying degrees of how bad it is. India has a huge problem. Scotland, right? I say, countries and all that fun stuff, but it is a worldwide problem. And at the end result, if you look at the data, is the people that are hurting here are the kids. That's the end result. And again, all the data is on the website, but this is not. Yes, this impacts you personally, but it impacts everybody. And just a note here, I hear a lot of people, and I've actually made some memes about it, say that child support or this issue doesn't impact them. Yes, it does. You may not have kids. You may not, you may have a 50-year wonderful marriage. You may have all these things, but you interact with people that have been impacted by the system. If you want to get purely financial, for the folks in the United States, Title 4D is in the Social Security Act. This is government money. How do you think the government gets their money? I don't know how else to put that. Is it your Social Security money? No. Is it in the Social Security Act? Yes. Is it a big pool of money that, it's segregated, moved around or whatever, but at the end of the day, government money is your money. And that's just the money part of it. And again, there's a lot of data on that. And these are studies. This isn't some tinfoil hat wearing person. These are, most of my data comes from the government. It's their government data. It's not me making numbers up. I get my information from them. But this impacts everybody. So, you interact, from the financial perspective, you interact with that part of it. Your kids sit in school next to somebody that has been impacted by this. The millions of divorces and custody and things like that, you either are personally impacted, your family members personally impacted, or you know somebody. This is like a 6 degrees of separation, a Kevin Bacon kind of thing. You are impacted in some way. Maybe not to the degree some people are, but you are impacted. And it's something that needs to be addressed and needs to be fixed. So, get off my soapbox on that part and kind of talk about the website a little bit more. So the website again is broken up. Again, I've kept it in the United States. I mean, I do have data all over the world, but I've kept it in the United States, and I'm here in Texas. So there, I have Texas, a huge section of Texas, and there's a decent amount of data for Texas. I wish I could be all things to all people, but I'm one guy and I can't do everything. So this is the area that I hopefully can make an impact in. So let's look at custody interference. So custody interference, actually click on that. Custody interference is basically when you show up, simply put, it's when you have a court order and the other parent won't allow you to have your kids. And I'm speaking about Texas here. Every state has some level of how they handle through the judicial process the custody interference issue. I'm going to speak specifically or primarily about Texas. We actually have in our Texas Penal Code 2503 is a state law that it's a felony to interfere with custody interference. And this section of the website, I've made cartoons, I have data, I've made commercials, things like that. But there's a lot of information that talks about the 2503 aspect of it and some other information here. I even have a section, 5-part process here on how you work through the process. And again, this is for Texas. I haven't got around to the other 49 states yet. But in Texas, how you can handle custody interference. I mean, one, obviously, and I thought it was important enough to remain calm, that you have to do that, which, again, as I noted here, it's impossible, but you have to. You can get an enforcement kit. So a lot of parents, when they are faced with this, is highly emotional. We had a shooting. We have shootings all the time over custody exchanges. But a lot of parents, when they're faced with this, they don't know what to do, and they throw their hands up in the air and they scream or do whatever they're going to do. I'm at least trying to provide a process here. And again, admittedly, it's not a perfect process. You'll see if you watch some of my other videos, you can see where I've taken people to task on what they think is happening, what's actually happening, and providing data and things like that. But this at least gets you in the running. I mean, if you're wanting to fix the problem, you've got to address the problem, acknowledge the problem, and work through the problem. But here, there's a 5-section process, and I'm sure for the other 49 states, there's going to be something similar, maybe not with and I say clout, but the clout of the 2503 state, the penal code piece of it. But obviously, you need to remain calm. I'm sure there's some type of enforcement visitation kit you can you download, and from there you can take that information. You can contact, after you're done with that, you contact the police department, because this is a violation. I'm sure in the other 49 states there's some piece of that. I did talk about specifics here for Texas, and then how to handle if the police officer doesn't do what they're supposed to do. And again, you're supposed to be calm. You're not going to be causing any kinds of problems, but you need to stand up for your rights. And then you complete the visitation journal, and then you send your notice and you go through that process. This is a process. I didn't make this up. This is a process that has been established to work through the problem. I'm not going to say that if you go to the judge and file it or file it through the DA, that you show them this information and they're going to immediately go, oh my gosh, June or Bob, we're going to put you in jail, which, by the way, this is a jailable offense. But at least versus you going to court are trying to go back to court, and they ask you, well, what did you do? What information do you have? And you throw your hands up in the air. Well, I was there at 6 o'clock, and I didn't get my kid. Well, do you have evidence? No. Again, look at it from their perspective. And again, I'm not going to say that they're going to be over the top trying to help you, but at the same time, when you go into court and you provide them succinct data, evidence, facts that show that you were there, at least you have that you did it, versus just throwing your hands up in the air and saying that nothing happened. I have some commercials, and again, I've included links to, again, a lot of these are Texas items here, but videos and YouTube links to news articles and things like that. But things that you can do or to read and learn about the process. Unfortunately, here's one here that was provided for by the new 2503 group. There's actually a group, a number of them, but a group run by George Sedana, that their main focus is to fix the 2503 issue here in Texas. Hats off, commend the guy and the group. There's a lot of other people behind the scenes. George is doing a lot of good work. A lot of people behind the scenes that are also working together to do that. But a number of these videos show the police officer not doing his job, and to correct, or not to correct, but to state real quickly some of the things that have been talked about before. Let me just go ahead and state on the record, I am not an ACLU California person. For anyone that certain DA candidates that are watching, or that may be watching, I am a registered Republican. I am a hardcore conservative, and my whole thing is I want things better. So I love the boys in blue. Not to toot my own horn, but and there's a lot of things that I don't talk about, but there's things that I do that my wife and other people could probably tell you, but I don't like to toot my own horn. But a few weeks ago, I bought a police officer lunch, and we had a nice talk. We did talk about 2503 here in the area I'm in, and shocker, it comes up. But I am a fan of the boys in blue. Police officers are great for what they do. Now, I understand some of the limitations they have. I firmly believe, based on the data that I have, that 99% of the time they do the right thing. There are some bad apples, like there are everywhere. And but overall, I am a firm believer we need our police here. They are a great deterrent to crime. That's why we need them and need to have them in place. Anyway, off that soapbox, here we have an example on the website. You can go to the link here, where an officer did not do what they should have been doing. And I understand to a degree why this is happening, and we're trying to make that better. So that's something else we can look at. Now I do need to update this. This is 2018's arrest and conviction record. You can go by county in Texas. Again, I haven't got to the rest of the 49 states. And you can see the data that I received from a information request, how many times people have been arrested for 2503 and how many times they've been convicted. Now, that job falls firmly on the district attorney. One of the reasons why I'm involved in the district attorney race for the county that I'm in, because that job is a very important job with making sure things happen. And I have a million other examples of how that DA role is very important. But back to this, I have a plot here that you can go to and buy county from 2018. I'm going to assume that things haven't changed much from that point to this point, but you can see how many arrests and convictions have occurred as a result of 2503. You can also, on my website, find out how many calls are made, how many times this happens. So it gives you a good idea of that issue. I have other information as I collect it. put it out there. Some challenges with the Dallas folks, and things like that, and just other information that people can quickly go to. This was actually a conversation I had with Sheriff Wayborn at David Henderson's memorial service. I assume a number of people won't know what that is, or who and what that is, but David Henderson was a gentleman that had been through a divorce, and his son at the time was passing away from a rare form of cancer, and he was being denied. He was having issues in the court system, but he finally was able to go visit his son on Father's Day. But the mother in this case would not let him have his visitation, and there wasn't a direct result, or it wasn't. We didn't talk about too much in this video, which also is available on my website and other media forms. But Sheriff Wayborn, who is a county's sheriff, made a statement in public that I was at, that they prosecute all the laws. Well, I had just done a commercial where I had collected all the data for Tarrant County, showing that's just not the case, and I provided that information, gave him my business card afterwards, and then followed up with him. Had a good conversation. He actually went on a local show here, Fort Worth Memories Political Group. He's been on a few times with Larry O'Neill. And he has committed to making changes, actually, by the end of this year, from what he said. So, it was a positive change. We went from, not getting the enforcement to getting the enforcement. But here's the video of him and his follow-up conversation, also available on my website, YouTube channel. I'm actually on Roku. I have a Roku channel and an Amazon Fire Stick channel as well. And some articles there. So anyway, that's the custody interference section. You can go there. Child support. I could talk hours, days about. Let me pause that. I could talk hours about child support, and there it goes into so many different directions. But I've made some videos trying to educate people so they understand what that is. Child support is the money that you pay to support your child, or so we believe. The truth is that child support is working with Title 4D of the Social Security Act. They are basically incentivizing states to enforce child support orders and things like that. I'm on the fence on if this was ever a good thing. It was from, I'm trying to remember the president's name. Clinton, there we go. President Clinton back in 96, 5, 4, can't remember what it is, on the website. And that's one of the reasons why I have the website is I'm old, I don't remember stuff. And if it's on the website, I can go to it, collect it, and go, oh yeah, that was it. But so when you have the Title 4D piece of it, that money comes, through the federal government back to the states to collect child support. This document here, which I do need to update, because I believe this is 2020, but this here gives every state. This is a 50-state item here. The bonus check. So when, just as an example, there's a pool of money at the federal level. I think it's around 800 million, 600 million. I can't remember the numbers. Again, I have the website. That if you collect a certain amount and a certain percentage and things like that, you get a bonus check. So, and it is what it is. You receive a bonus check for your efforts. Kind of sad to say, in a way, that Texas has led. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 588 million. There we go. That was as of 2019. 588 million was the amount that was given out. There's actually a pool, I think, of closer to 800 million, but different story. But Texas, in 2019, received an $87.771 $1 million bonus check for their child support collections. And that's over and above the other pieces of it, which if you watch any one of my videos, I'll show you, you'll see the breakdown and how that works, where it comes from, and things like that. But this is your money. Not mine. Well, it is mine, but this is your money that the states are that are doing that. And then go talk more about the Texas aspect of it, again from Texas. But other states are similar. I actually have national data that shows the national breakdown by state of how the custodial, non-custodial breakout on custody, between mothers and fathers and all the other demographics as well, which is another reason why it's very important to have that data available. So here in Texas, I have another by county broken down. The numbers of custodial versus non-custodial parents. The easy percentage to get to is 91.2% of all non-custodial parents are dads. That's weird. That just doesn't seem right. I didn't realize that 91% of people like me are bad. And I'm saying non-custodial parent is bad necessarily, but it's odd, and you have to dig into. In my videos, talk about how and why. 91.2% of non-custodial parents are fathers. It happens to moms. I have a couple of good friends that are non-custodial moms, and the same overarching reason is why. But again, conversation for a different day. I also, again, on the website, and again, a lot of information here. Texas, we have a program called PAPA, the Parenting and Paternity Awareness program that the Office of the Attorney General has in the high school curriculum. Let me repeat that. They have it in the high school curriculum, and I misstated it twice, but they have it, they teach boys and girls in high school about this program. And if you watch the videos, which if you click on the link, you can go watch the videos. They're still out there, and if they magically have been taken down, please reach out to me. I have a backup copy. But the PAPA program essentially teaches the mom is supposed to put the dad on child support as a way to help the kid. And they even have these guys on there like, oh, it's awesome. I don't know anyone that under threat of incarceration that you must pay money every month would ever be happy. But, who am I? I'm just some old guy. But anyway, this is a program that they are teaching with a straight face, and it's being allowed in all the public high schools in Texas. So you got to check it out. If you got a spare few minutes, you got to check it out. And then I got, videos. Our Office of the Attorney General, his name is Ken Paxton. Parts of him, I like the guy on parts of what he does. I understand some of the ways he's kind of, where he's at with this, but, there's lots of parts of him I don't like for obvious reasons. Jeff Morgan, which if you get a chance, check his page out, his YouTube channel. I could spend a whole other live talking about Jeff Morgan. Jeff Morgan, just quick Reader's Digest summary here. His battle for the most part, or why he's involved, is grandparent. His main one is no fault divorce. That's a whole other thing, very important. But I'd be here all day talking about that part of it. But a lot of what he does, or not his focus, but a lot of what he talks about is ending no fault divorce. And whether you agree or disagree, when you look at the history, the reasoning, the rationale, and all those things behind it, he's got some very good points, and you should check that out and do some research. But Jeff Morgan he is a guy that drop of a hat, he is all over the place. He just came back from Austin from a judicial review board conversation, and spent hours there, recording and talking and doing. He's been in Austin, I don't know how many times. He's been all over the country doing things. He is, definitely a champion of trying to get this ended. And he, like me, and I'll explain kind of my piece in a little bit here, but he doesn't have a direct dog in this hunt, as they say. He has his kids, but he's not paying child support. He doesn't have the custody issue directly that most of us that would probably be on the site have. But he like a few others see the problem and the impacts and the results and the second and tertiary issues that happen from the way this system is, and he wants to fix it. I can't commend the guy enough. I mean, what can be said about Jeff Morgan? He's the man. And to kind of talk about how that is similar to my situation, and just also for people that are trying to figure out who I am, I'm not impacted by the child support issue. I'm sorry. I should say I'm not negatively impacted by the child support issue, the custody issue, and things like that anymore. Um, so I got divorced, and I'll give you the Reader's Digest version of this, which, by the way, for folks that are involved in this, when you tell people your story, you want to break it down to a Reader's Digest format, which I know is difficult, but that's something you have to do. But my situation is a number of issues that led up to it. 2013, um, my now ex-wife filed for divorce for the third time against me, and I'm like, let's just make this stick. I'm tired of having my finances drained and the emotional and all those different things. So went to court, got my whatever. I am actually one of the less than 5% of Texans that had equal shared custody. I had a true 50-50 custody plan for my two boys, and it was a 2-2-3 wrap plan. So every 2 days we would switch, and it worked great. So for the folks that say, "Oh my gosh, 2-2-3 plan doesn't work," blah blah blah, those things work just fine. There's a lot of data on that on the website that talks to it. The kicker, though, is that even though we had true equal shared parenting, it was 50-50 all the way down the list, I still had to pay $1,000, net $1,000 in child support, and as well as medical, dental, and vision, all before I was required to, by the way, which I find hilarious. I mean, I was paying their vision and dental and health because I'm a dad, and that's what dads do, and that's what parents do. We take care of our kids, not this you're ordered to. So, that spurred me on because the way I got 50-50, it's not the way lawyers and judges and all that like to say, when parents can agree. We know most of the time that's not going to happen. It took me basically giving up all the assets that I had and offering her a huge fat check to get 50-50. And oddly enough, it worked. So that's really the only way I got 50-50. Again, we went through all the other nonsense and things like that. Came back, spotless record, all that stuff. There was and again, I'd say for a good majority of other parents that end up with the standard possession order or all those other things, they're good parents too. It's just the way it's set up. I was able to get around what my lawyers were trying to do and outsmarted them, which I still laugh about to this day, although it cost me everything I owned. Anyway, I've moved on from there. So, but why it still doesn't impact me, and see, I've fallen victim to word vomit as much as other people because I haven't Reader Digest this thing. But now I have 100% custody of my now youngest son, my oldest son aged out, and I'm actually paid child support. And you can go to my YouTube channel and watch the video on how that unfolded, and you will see how I didn't want to pay child support, but the Office of the Attorney General demanded that I had to pay that I receive child support, not pay, sorry, that I receive child support, and I even bring out why that was done, and you get to hear it out of their own mouths. I mean, you don't even need to hear it from me; you can hear it from them. So go to my YouTube channel, you can watch the video. Anyway, there's all kinds of videos that talk about that, and then I actually do touch on Title IV funds, which is a whole other area. I'm talking about the trafficking of children, really, on the foster in that whole area. But all kinds of information there. There's the books, articles, and studies. I haven't logically put this section this out in categories or anything, but it's just of the data I've collected over the years that I thought were noteworthy. I put them all in here, and they're free to share, free to do whatever you want to with them. You have your Nielsen studies, which is kind of the bedrock of why we should have equal shared parenting. These are, I think, over a 40-year period. All the data that was collected, not personal experience, data, that shows why that makes sense, and just all just information out there. I also talk about how the or picture here about how things have changed over the years and why, or well, actually not why, but how they've changed. So a good collection of data and articles and things like that. I also have a collection of videos that talk through. There's my cartoon that I made about, I think it was made it a couple of years ago, but made that about basically the process, how we got to where we're at today from the Title 4D funding perspective. And then over here, there's just video after video after video talking about equal shared parenting and child support and how to do different things, why dads matter, why parents matter, from a whole group of different people, all the way from the president, past presidents, down to other people. So you can see that then this impacts everybody. I also did find podcasts that someone did. I actually don't know who it was, but I linked to those. People could watch those at their leisure. Let's see here, legislators. I'm gonna catch a lot of fun over this one. Let me see if I need to. Yeah, it's paused. Whoop. I have some of these to where they automatically start, so when they go to the page, they'll see it, and hopefully they'll watch that. But this page is our legislators. These are the people that make our laws, and over the years I've been involved, I've steadily and now firmly in this place, but steadily went from they didn't know to they know exactly what they're doing when talking about this. And actually, if you go to the first one here, and again, as I stated earlier on, I'm a Republican, so I looked at it. I pulled up the Texas Republican Party planks, which is the kind of the rules and things that they go by for legislative sessions and things like that. And number 93, 94, and 95, I mean, they're all kind of involved. It was about parental rights and equal parenting and things like that. This is how high up it is on what they say it is, and then you, of course, get into practice. Also, on the legislative section, I have a video that I recorded in my conversation with Governor Abbott back in 2017, and where we talked about the issues of child support and custody and things like that. And I just point out the fact that here we are 5 years later, and what's changed? Ted Cruz. He was asked about this. It was someone else's video, 2012. This is Dulcifino, which if you're not a fan of his Facebook or YouTube page, he's down in, I believe, Houston. I would definitely recommend linking up with him and watching his stuff. He's an investigative journalist. I'm going to say out east because I don't know if he's from New Jersey or New York, kind of the way he talks. He's got that voice. But he does investigative journalism, and a lot of the things that he's been doing is on family court and justice. He did a video here back in the last legislative session, which is a nightmare. So you can go to my page or Dulcifino's or others and see what happened and why we didn't get equal shared parenting, and all the things that happened there, and why. You'll maybe understand why Mr. Cook's picture is prominently displayed on that video, regardless of what he says. But he does a lot of work there. Yeah, again, I'm a Republican. I will be voting for Abbott this go around again. Not to get too political outside of it being an obvious political thing here. Abbott's and goes along with the things that he doesn't go against, I guess, the things that I purport to value. But the section here talking about James Younger, everyone's aware of, hopefully is aware of James Younger and his son, or I'm sorry, Jeff Younger, his son James, and the transitioning process that they're trying to force his son to take, who I believe is 9 now. And I just saw this and noted that this was something that was tweeted out back in 2019. Greg Abbott in the last legislative session had the opportunity to do something at three special sessions to do something about the transgender modifications and things like that, one way or the other, and did nothing. but yet they're talking about it now since new legislative session or the elections and things are coming up. I just find that interesting. And I also have my growing list of clown shoe legislators. I did hopefully mention to you that I have a sarcastic side. Just kind of left to right here, Victoria Niave. She's the Dallas rep. That she was actually the chair of the committee this last go around for the Equal Shared Parenting Act that she and others killed. And you'll note there that it says DWI arrest. I thought it'd be the best picture because a few years prior to that, oh, and by the way, she's a family court attorney in Dallas, which I find odd that a family court attorney, which there are a number of them that were on the board, were actually involved in a discussion on equal shared parenting, trying to pass a law because that's a direct conflict of interest based on their bylaws. Whole other issue. Actually, Dulcifina does a great thing on that. But Victoria Niave, and you can see, I've actually on my YouTube channel, you can see where I've kind of made fun of her in a few different areas, but she was busted a couple years ago, drinking and driving, crashed into a tree down in Dallas, or over in Dallas in my case. At first, it looks like she lied and tried to say that the guy that she was with was the one driving that. The guy's like, I ain't touching this one. They arrested her. She refused a breathalyzer. And then when they booked her, they took her to the hospital and forced her to get the blood alcohol content thing. She blew a 1.6, I believe, 1.5, 1.6, which is over the legal limit. We'll say that. And what I found odd about that is what happened to her was she got a $500 fine and had to take some stupid class. And I always go, if that would have happened to you or I or any normal person, what would have happened? I mean, we would have had the book thrown at us. But anyway, so that's her. Anna Marie Ramos, actually there was a video on my YouTube channel and during the legislative session where she's actually insulting like all of Kentucky, because at that time Kentucky was the only state that had passed equal shared parenting, which by the way is a funny story because they passed it. The data that came out of it was the violent crime as a result of that type of stuff went down. But also what was noted was that the state was having issues because they had relied on that child support Title 4D funding to make their budget, and now we're having problems. So it's weird that it seems like states that don't want to pass Title 4D reform or child support, child custody reform, it seems like they're doing it over the money, which I find odd. Anyway, Dade Phelan, God, there's so much to say about him, but I won't waste that time. Then DWI Dutton, he got busted for DWI drinking and driving. But anyway, whole other story. But and again, I'll be adding to that list as time goes on, as I get more time to dedicate to that. So we've got legislators. We have our judges. Again, a lot of it is focused on Tarrant County. I'm hoping to expand that. Again, one army of one. I have a video here talking about Judge Judy. She's actually a champion of equal shared parenting and things like that, and has been for most of her things. She has a great interaction here with the late Norm Macdonald about it. Have a video here of a lawyer basically saying they're gods of the courtroom. And then here's a guy, I kind of pulled this up, it's very interesting. He kind of talks about how family courts are allowed to be corrupt and things like that. And just kind of how judges and how that whole process works. This video is very interesting. They're at the Supreme Court, but they're talking about CPS is talking about it being okay to lie in order to get kids, and they're actually mentally able to have that conversation in their head and argue it to those judges. You have to watch it and kind of see for yourself. I was thinking about Larry O'Neill and his Fort Worth Memories thing. Actually, Larry O'Neill on his Fort Worth Memories political site. He's recently been inducted into the Family Court What's Going On Here campaign. And he's been actually fighting a lot, getting people in and talking about it, and actually made some good headway here in Tarrant County. So, hats off to him. It's kind of a private joke on the hats off part. But you have that. Eddie Brown, he's a member reported with Fort Worth Weekly. He actually had his own case. Just was found not guilty on some other items. Again, you have to kind of watch that and see that. But we're getting more exposure. There's actually talks about one of the issues with judges is that they are incentivized to uh, give rulings a certain way, I believe, based on the contributions they receive. So judges in Texas are elected, and so they have to campaign. They have to do all kinds of things. So it seems and I say seems, which I know the answer. I'm just trying to create drama or trying to create suspense. That judges that receive donations from from law firms, from people, tend to get favorable results. Here, an example here is the largest ever campaign contribution. Now, I still have to figure out how this happened because the cap is, I think, like $1,000. But they received a donation here of $100,000, a single donation. So, still trying to run that one down. I also have information on here. You can file a judicial complaint. This is in Texas, so it's specifically there. The Robing Room, Who Owns Your Judge, which law firm owns your judge, report public corruption to the FBI, and donor lookup. That is actually a national database. So what I tell people do is if they want to find out more about their judge and find out, I'll be honest, people have asked me what attorney should I hire, and I've got to the point now where I tell them whichever ones make the largest contributions to the judge's reelection campaigns. I tell them, go to the donor lookup, type in your judge's name, find out what law firm donated the most to them, pick them, see what happens. And I haven't heard anyone call me back yet telling me that I was wrong and crazy. So you take that with how you want. There's steps here, and then I got articles. A lot of them again, Texas, Tarrant County. We talk about just articles and things like that have come out, talking about anti-family court judges and articles there. I have two that, oddly enough, are in Tarrant County: Judge Judith Wells and Judge Beth Paulos. You can get more information there. Judy Wells, interesting side note, and you'll see the video in there. Click in there. Actually, I made a video about this, pulling the information from the last judicial opinion. So this is on the bill for equal shared parenting. Out of like 200 people that were there and stuff like that, one judge called in to be against the equal shared parenting bill. And again, it's the presumption of equal shared parenting. So basically, all that they were wanting to do is say that when mom and dad walk into the courtroom, now mind you, the law already says this. We just want to say, in black and white, that when mom and dad walk into a courtroom, they are treated as equals, and we get equal shared parenting, and let the facts bear out. So if mom works 28 days out of the week, and okay, not equal share parenting. If dad has a problem with the happy smoke, he shouldn't get him. Common sense stuff here. She actually called in and opposed it. And what's funny about the video, and I'll leave that out there as a little drama thing, but I had the bill language up as she was talking, and you can see what she's saying and read what the bill actually says, and it just shows what an idiot she is. And then I do research, so I did find a bunch of articles, but an article about her back from 1994, talking about the whole donations to judicial campaign issue that I was talking about earlier. I know people think I'm crazy. Back in '94, this is the stuff that was going on back in 1994. And then again, articles, and again, I have videos about her and some of the things that she's done. And then here's some of the more famous cases. I also have a um, aggregator that pulls in articles about her all over the world. So, and I assume they would be all over the world, but Tarrant County, Texas, things like that. So anytime her name's mentioned, it gets pulled in, so you can get up to the latest information. How to fix the glitch? That part of the site is a high level discussion of how we're going to fix the problem, and that since we can't get enough people involved to make a change, that the plan doesn't really work. We need people, voting and protesting and contacting the legislators and things like that. I'll talk more about that probably towards the end. And then I have a meme section. Again, I'm sarcastic by nature, so this is how I blow off steam. And what's funny is these memes. When I go on Facebook and other social media sites, I would find people making comments, and of course I have a sarcastic mind, so I would respond, things like that, and go, wow, this should be a meme. Well, like legislator when they say they'll fix something. And again, it's I could say it, or I can like to show pictures and things like that. And again, it's just my musings of different things over time. Actually, here's a judge checking to see how much the law firm donated for issuing a ruling. I mean, this is I kind of my way of blowing off steam, and again, free to share. Fast facts on fatherlessness. Again, the issue impacts both sexes, but again, 90+% of the time it's men. And I equate that, try to use an analogy of breast cancer. Breast cancer is thought to be a woman's issue, but men get breast cancer too. But we don't have the pink shirts, the drives, all these different things. And men are kind of pushed out of the way on that in favor of women, which I don't have a problem with it, but the issue impacts men. Now, in order to fix the problem, we need women. And actually, oddly enough, more women are involved in the equal shared parenting movement than men, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but we have a number of champions, women that fight and do the things that need to get done in order to fix the problem. They're the ones that are going to court, and also they're helping out their husbands that are usually the ones impacted. So women are very vitally important to getting this mess cleaned up. And of the women that I talk to, there's a number of reasons. Usually, and I don't want to say usually, but a number of times it's the woman doesn't understand because it's from her perspective, but then she meets a man that is going through it, and then she witnesses as kind of a third party in a way to the challenges, and they see what these other women are doing to now their men and the kids and things like that, and they go, wait, this is wrong. They're able to see it from a different perspective. That's a number of them. A number of them are older women that their sons that have been raised up and are out, and they meet a woman and they go through that issue. They're the grandmothers that are going, wow, I can't see my kids. There's no law, at least in Texas, for grandparents' rights, really. So if grandparents can miss out on their kids, different things. There's a number. I think Wendy Perry. There are a number of people that have impacted by this. But yeah, a number of women get involved in from there. A number of women are just like this, kind of like me. This makes no sense. It needs to be fixed. We need to fix it. Some equality. We talk about equality all day long, and we're equal and this, that, and the other. Well, if we're equal, we're equal. This is how you get equality. It's not that hard. Anyway, fast facts. Again, this is government data. 90% of your runaways, 71% of your dropouts, 85% in prison, and 75% of your rapists, they grew up in a fatherless home. Data. It's just, do with it what you will, but it's facts. 9% of the people that run away and end up, whatever, fatherless family. Dropouts from school. The data is overwhelming that people brought up in fatherless homes don't do well in school. Now you're gonna get oh, my child excelled. Actually, oddly enough, my oldest son did great in school. He graduated a year early. My oldest, he graduated from high school a year early. Had great grades. Went on to college. Did doing his thing, because that's just kind of how it worked. He's the exception, not the rule. That's what we have to understand. It's we have all this data. We have to do something with it. 85% of the people in prison. That's what happens. I mean, there are severe mental issues that happen. And these are just four of the fact. There's so many more, but 85% of your prisoners grew up without a dad, because dads generally teach their kids how to be a man. Sorry, but a woman can't raise a man. I don't care what you say. You may try. You may be able to do it, or have a father. Fathers need to raise their sons and daughters. And I mean, funny again, word vomit sidebar conversation. When I went before the judge on my first, this is when I knew things were going to go weird. When I went in front of the judge I'll never forget this. When I went in front of the judge, I got a chance to talk, and I said, my family, my understanding of the family, and the role of men and women are created equal yet different. A man's job is to raise a son to be, a good man, a good husband for his wife. A father's job is to raise a girl to teach her what kind of man she should marry. And conversely, the mom should raise her son to emulate and find a woman that exhibits those traits and marry that type of woman. He needs to have that example, and raise daughters to be the women, to be strong, good women, strong in a good way, not the bad way, but to be strong women. And the judge laughed at me, so I think I knew I was in trouble there. But anyway, moving down here, it's a video that talks about that. And then we get down to the National Data and Information. This is, again, government data. National Financial Child Support Data. So if you ever want to find anything out about the OCSC, which is the branch of the government that handles all it's a clearinghouse and all the information you could ever want to know, where I get my information, on child support, state level, gender, who pays what, how's this, trends, how it gets dispersed, all that stuff, that's all right there. You click that button and you go right to the site. I'm sorry, the PDF of that information. And the preliminary report, I was thinking of a different area. And it gives you, for 2020, all that information. This is where I got that bonus check information on all the different states. It tells you all the different sections and how the disbursements work and things like that. Just a lot of information. National Custody Breakdown. This another based on the date, it tells you how it's broke out, how things work, and things like that. I could go into a lot more data there, but I won't. Go there and read and get educated. National Child Support Statistics. Well, here's the childstats.gov. This breaks out all the information for where we're at. And again, this is all government data, so it's going to be trending and things like that. I've talked about a number of times the Title 4D, the Social Security Act, and people are like, what is that? Or it's fake, or moon landing, or whatever. Well, I figured I'd put that link out there. It basically takes you to Title 4, Social Security, Title 4D of the Social Security Act, and you can read about it, your own eyes, and learn about what it is. It's a block grant for states for temporary assistance for needy families. Actually, if you watch the video, if you watch the first cartoon I made, you'll get about 80% of all the information you probably ever need to know of what it is and how it works and things like that. So about 8 minutes of your time, and I'll give you that information. But this again takes you right there. The Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act of 1996. This is the one. You read that, you can read all about it and how that got hammered home under Clinton's administration to basically break out that. And again, if you watch the video, that first cartoon video, I talk about this and how it changed the nature of how states collected money and things like that. Basically, they changed it to where if you didn't do these certain things, you would not get those federal funds. And I don't care how Texas states that we're sovereign, we're this, we're that, and the other. They love the government checks just as much as everybody else. And if you don't believe me, I wonder why child support reforms never passed. The 66% breakdown. People have mentioned, again, if you're on here, you probably have heard it at least once or twice, 66 cents of every dollar, yada, 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 yada. And there's people that have talked back and forth. This is a link that basically breaks down the incentive payment process. It goes more into detail than the Title 4D of the Social Security Act and things like that. But it breaks down, again, government data, how that works and what that means. And basically what it is, it's, $100. And then if they spend $100 to collect child support of X amount, they will receive 66 cents or $66, because that's 100, back for doing that. Now, people are like, well, whatever. Well, easiest way to explain that is pretend you're a business owner. And your highest, anyone who's in business or not in business should know this, but one of your highest costs of doing business is employees. They're expensive. And so you say you hire 10 employees, you have a payroll of X. Well, just imagine if you needed to have well, make the math bad here, but if you knew that you could hire 44% more because you knew you were getting 66% of the money you spend on employees back for free. So I should have done the math before I started the live here, but if you do your math and you say you need to have 10 employees to get your job done, but then you go, well, wait, I don't have to pay for 66% of those. Those are free employees, essentially. I only have to pay for 4.4. You're going to hire more and do different things. It's free money in a way back to you. So that's at a very, very high level, that whole 66% breakdown. But you can read you can hit that link and go there and get that information. The Deadbeat Parent Act of 1998, huge one right there. That's pretty well what clinched it. And it's I believe a video of it actually happening, so you can kind of see, this is when it all went to heck in a handbasket. Then I have another whole section dedicated to Texas, again, from Texas. So just breaking that down. So I've got the other things for the custody breakdown. I've got that there. So you can go there and see for your county in Texas that. You can then also see, it's the same one, the violation process, the numbers of convictions and arrests and things like that. If you go, I've had people tell me that 2503 doesn't exist. It's not a state law. It's a civil issue. We all get told that. Here's the page, Texas Penal Code section 2503 and the law. So it's not up for debate. Cognitive dissonance is great, but there's no getting around it. It is. It's also within there is murder and rape and everything else. These Texas Penal Code. This site here, Texas Law Help, it's basically a collection of free forms. You can get other information, get assistance in filing your cases and things like that. But that's where you can get a number of different forms. File for divorce, child support issues, modifications, all kinds of things. And actually stuff that's not related to family law. There's other things you can do. And again, for the most part, you do a little research. You can do this on your own. You don't need an attorney. That's a whole other $60 billion question. But this is a site you can go to and you can get the information yourself. Fill out the documents are very straightforward to fill out. It's not that hard. You can even find examples. But this is things you can do on your own. Texas Family Code. People talk about the Family Code. Talk about the best interest of the child. A whole other fun conversation. But the Texas Family Code, if you click on this link, takes you right to the Texas Family Code. This is the entire Texas Family Code. You can research everything you wanted to learn. This is what everyone should be, and we know they're not, but this is what everyone should be looking at. dissolution of marriage, sued for dissolution of marriage. You read all about it, how marital property is awarded, how that breaks out, things like that. It's reading. It's basic information that everyone uses. We don't need to make it this hard, but there you can quickly link to that. Here's the non-custodial handbook. This is produced by the OAG. I snagged a copy of it because who knows what they'll do with it, because there's a quote in here that I find hilarious. But this is the handbook that they give to non-custodial parents, and for those that don't know, you have your custodial parent, your non-custodial parent. Custodial parent has the child most of the time. Non-custodial parent has children less time, whatever that is. Oddly enough, Texas doesn't. Their systems are not set up to where that to even recognize equal shared parenting, 50-50. And I know this because I was one of them, and I was always referred to as a non-custodial parent. And basically, I was told, and I believe I read it somewhere, that the non-custodial parent is the one that pays child support. Find that hilarious. But anyway, this is where you can find all of your information out from, at least from the OAG's perspective, on that. Now, my favorite comment, or that I find hilarious here, is people always talk about, oh well, parenting is pretty much equal anyway, blah blah blah, and the OAG doesn't do whatever. Well, there's a quote in here, or a statement, not a quote, but a statement I'm quoting from. Many people think only fathers can be non-custodial parents, but that is not the case. In Texas, about 10% of non-custodial parents are mothers. Okay, I'm going to do a little second grade math here. 10% of non-custodial parents are mothers. That would mean 90% of non-custodial parents are fathers. Even the OAG knows the disparity. So, but anyway, I find that funny to put in there. And of course, they talk about you're important, but they explain why you're important, which is paying child support. Anyway, Texas state budget. So I'm going to make the statement. I won't name the names, but I've been told that Texas will never pass equal shared parenting or essentially child support reform because the Texas state budget has to have it. You can go to this link, pull up the information, see the Title 4D funds, and do the math yourself. Don't believe me. I'm a liar. I'm crazy. I don't know what I'm talking about. You can go and pull up the Texas state budget on the Texas website, pull the math, and do it yourself. There's a reason why equal shared parenting will not pass. So they're going to hurt children, dads, moms, you name it, all for money, because they know that if equal shared parenting passes, the struggle, the $60 billion a year law firm and judges and all that fun stuff goes significantly diminishes, and they don't get those federal funds, those Title 4D funds back. They can't make their budget. Again, this is not rocket science, but don't believe me, go to the website, the budget's there, do the math. It's about second grade math. Follow the money. I mentioned the donate thing. You can go here and talks about elections. So, and this is a perfect time because in Texas we're electing district attorney, judges. We're having all those elections. You can find out how much and who is donating, and that then raises the question of why they're donating. But you can go here and get that information and become an educated voter. That would be an interesting thing there. Annual statistics report in Texas judiciary. We talk about judges and things like that. You can go here. This is a 2021, and you can review information on the judiciary. How many times people filed cases against judges and things like that. There's all that information is in here. How the process works, how all those different pieces funnel together, and from there you can, learn how the judicial process works and doesn't work, how they're funded. Again, this is second grade stuff here, but they're funded from the state. State gets federal funding. Equal shared parenting. I don't know how else this needs to be explained to people. Anyway, read that. Texas State Law Library. It's child support. This talks about child support in plain English. So again, maybe the hoity-toity words don't work for you, or someone's talks about a sapper and all that, and you're like, what the heck are they talking about? You can go here, free information, and get a basic broken down understanding of what these different things are, and get educated, learn how it works, learn your possession orders, understand the law, how that part works. There's all kinds of information here, again, at your fingertips, that you can peruse at your leisure. Let's see. Oh, Texas case law summary. Williams versus Patterson. Again, memory being what it is. Let's see. Talks about child support and the agreements and things like that. You can read about case law and how that worked, and find out kind of how we got here. But I felt that was important enough to go there. You got your Texas parent tax. Some information that was provided to me, and we talk about a parent tax because getting right into the basics here, you have your custodial parent and your non-custodial parent. Now, I'm sure everyone knows this, but for the folks that don't know this, in my case, I had 50-50. I still pay $1,000 in child support. So $12,000 a year, net, tax-free, was given to my ex-wife. Again, for 50-50 custody. So she made $12,000 more than me, tax-free. That changes the incomes. There's actually a great documentary that's out called Divorce Court, and you can find it on various locations. I would recommend it on my website. But you can watch the sections. But there was a lady, Wendy Perry. I'm trying to remember her maiden or married name at the time. But she was actually in the area. But she actually appeared in this documentary, and she talked about that disparity because her husband actually earned more and things like that, and based on the level of child support, she wasn't able to make ends meet. But anyway, this link here talks about the parenthood tax and things like that. I have a FAQ, frequently asked questions area, where you can get some high level information. And again, I'll be honest, it's a little bit snarky up front. I talk about different things, including the whole anchor for the site, which hopefully you stayed around for the beginning. Now, this whole section here, I mentioned an aggregator site or an aggregator software. This aggregator pulls in information based on keyword, but pulls in information from all over the world actually. But I have it centered for the United States for the most part. But it pulls in keywords. So this thing here, articles about shared parenting, you get up to the hour information on any news article that references or talks about equal shared parenting or shared parenting. Now again, it's right more than it's wrong, but it does happen. But here, actually yesterday. I guess there's no one's doing any articles today, but yesterday had a finding child care is an exhausting job. How partners can split the work. We found out about in Australia actually pulled that in fallacies in family law. Again, this is a worldwide issue, not just United States or your area of the country. But you learn about different things. Actually, we talk. Of course, I'm sure you're aware of Britney Spears and things like that. Actually, there was an article here about Hunter going back to court. Oh, here we go. Hunter Biden begs court to lower his child support payments. I do have an aggregator actually talks about child support, so it finds that keyword and pulls in data there. Actually, we do have some articles, and sometimes it duplicates things like that. But here, Erica, me, Amanda, and Safari's divorce has been finalized. Safari to pay $4,300 a month in child support starting in September. $4,300 a month. I don't know how many kids he has or whatever, but that's a lot. Actually, some of my data talks about USDA data, which they actually did a study, and they show the national average, and I think even broken down by state, but how much it costs to raise a child. And that number and what child support's doing are two vastly different things. And you have to ask why. But anyway, a whole different story. But I have, again, aggregator has forum posts and things like that. You can get up to the latest information. I do have not a direct affiliation. Again, we're all one big happy family here, but other groups that I pull their data in from their Facebook streams. One is Americans for Parental Equality. So their Facebook posts come over. So if you go to the website, you can see kind of their latest thing. Like, of course, go to Facebook, but it's all there, and you can actually view it and share it and things like that. Here's here's actually mine from my Facebook page. Actually, I'm on obviously on Facebook. This is actually a funny one, very appropriate for today. Again, hopefully you'll understand my brand of comedy. This is kind of the way I work. And you can, of course, load more of each, so if you want to get more information. There's another group called Ink, Lies, and Greed. The name is pretty self-explanatory, but they collect their information. And then there's Disruptive Media, and they're a media organization that they're dedicated to exposing different things through media. So there's their information. I have obviously all the share options here, and I have a section at the bottom here, and I'm going to catch flack either way. But the first one I'll just go ahead and get out of the way here: abuse by women. This site, again, I say everyone, most people have this idea that, women don't do bad things. Every time you see an article, it's always written with that thing. I started collecting information and data, and it dispels a lot of those myths. And then I started getting angry and started posting examples. And so this kind of breaks out here. We had, a study about who does intimate violence, and the numbers, the data, not personal opinion, the numbers show, surprisingly, because the media wouldn't tell you this, who commits it. And this is data, not, Bob told me. CDC, actually, in that case. Of course, Harvard, little jokes in there. And then I have articles and links to, some of it is data on it. Some of it's to stories, horrific stories. But, I have this information here because I'm frankly tired of that. I mean, we need to acknowledge what the issues are, and if people are committing them or saying, oh, it's just men that do this, it's not. It's, women are just as capable, if not more, of committing violence, and I'm getting that information out there. Here's information from the DHHS on mistreating that. Data is there. This is not my data. Actually, you can go right to the governmental website that provides the information. It's right there. Some other information there, and then I just have a list of all kinds of information. Some of it's a little snarky. I mean, I do, of course, the Maury Povovich's You're Not the Father. You'd be surprised to learn, and I think it's 30% on paper. It's more, but 30% on paper of paternity fraud. Plain and simple. And just again, things I've collected over the years. Preparing for divorce. This section, I haven't dressed it out a whole lot, but I think some good information in there. Again, person makes a decision to get divorced. They need to get information and do the right thing. I found a list here a while back. The guy's name is Tom. I don't know who it is. I can't find who he is, but this list here breaks out what you should be doing. And I thought the list was very good. I found it back when I was going through mine, back almost, a decade ago. And I wish I would have done everything. I was actually, when, I say most guys, at least me at the time, I still cared. I still thought of her as a human being and as a mother and things like that. And it wasn't until I went to court the first time and saw what she was trying to do to me, that I went, okay, that's it. I was able to, turn that off. But you have to prepare. It's a business process. And then, some other basic information, custody breakdowns. Here's actually a video orientation. When you go through a divorce, they put you through an orientation. Here's the video. You can watch it and gather information. Got a couple stories here about the domestic violence charges and things like that, abuse. And then, of course, again, I'm snarky and old. Sam Kinison has a great little thing there. Try to have a little bit of humor there. And then new chapter. I've been divorced. I'm remarried now, happily. Whoop, let me mute that. This is actually our wedding video. I'm a Metallica fan, so that was actually my cake provided by my wife. And oh, before I forget, my wife is completely not part of Pissed Off Parent. She great person, good person, does all kinds of wonderful things in the community. I help her where I can and things like that. But she, if anyone doesn't like what I do at Pissed Off Parent, no reflection on her. Um, she's a good person. Anyway, um, so yeah, this is a thing I put in here to say, hey, look, you know, I was able to rebuild. I was able to change. You can too. Wasn't kind of tooting my own horn, but all that. What I find funny, you probably can't see it on here, is that my wife and I think we were still courting at that time. I went to a wine painting thing or whatever, and we could pick whatever thing we wanted to paint. It's one of those that helps you out because I can't paint. And we picked two halves of a house. My wife was married prior to, and we showed how we put both halves of our house together, and you can see the house has got some cracks and stuff like that. But we were able to make a family and make a new adventure. So anyway, fun little thing. We had that picture at our wedding. My best friend in the entire world was actually the officiant for that, and it was a great time. I got information on therapy. Obviously, going through something like this, you got to have some, and I have free resources and places you can go and links and things like that where you can go and get assistance. Again, not a whole lot of information there, but the places you can go. My calling is not therapy. I'll kind of say that out loud now. I'm a data guy. I don't do well with stories and listening and issues and stuff like that, or that's not my calling. Other people have that. I don't. I'm a let's fix it issue. Let's get data together, collect it, problem, fix it. That's how I do stuff. I'm not going to take on your case personally. I might as well get to this part of it. I'm not going to take on your case personally. I'm not going to fly out on my own dime. Others will. Others have. Crazy. But I will not fly out to wherever you're at and sit in a courtroom with you. If you want to use this platform to get information on your case and stuff like that, great. I am not going to, have a 3-hour conversation with you to gather whatever. You should have it orderly and provide that information, and then I can get that information out there. I've done that for other people. Again, my time, just like everybody else's, is limited, but I just figured I'd get that out of the way now. I get messaged, and again, this is griping a little bit, but I guess the level set, I get messages all the time and calls and requests. Actually, I have a call in line and stuff like that, but I get those things all the time. That is not kind of what I do. My job is to provide data that people could then use to then help themselves, and that's another part of it. Is the only person that's going to help you is yourself. I am not able to, take on your case personally and do all these different things. You need to have some skin in the game. You need to be able to articulate your story. I can provide resources for you that you can then go through. And on another note, I spend a couple $1,000s a year, because I guess I'm assuming at least one person, if anyone, is like, oh my god, he's such a jerk. I spend a couple $1,000s a year to host and do different things. It's not just my hosting service and stuff like that, but I spend a lot of money, and I don't even know how much time I spend, participating in videos and software, because I do a lot of video creation. I do a lot of different things like that, and putting information together. That takes a lot of time. I have a family. I have other commitments, other things I'm trying to do that's not just related to equal shared parenting. This is a primary focus, but I lost my train of thought, but there we go. Came back. I'm old. I spend a lot of time on this, my own time and money. I don't ask for donations. I'm not gonna ask for money. I'm not gonna ask for anything because I don't I don't have a huge need for it because I'm able to do it because I want to help. I spend all this time and all this money and energy because I want to make things better. I'm not impacted by this anymore. Haven't been for a while personally. I see the larger picture, another reason why I'm involved, but I am not directly involved with this anymore. I could go play video games and do my nerd stuff that I like to do. If you've been watching, you'll see behind me. I'm a nerd. I don't have to be doing this. And the thing that kind of keeps me going on is, of course, seeing people use. I monitor all of my data, and I see how many people are going to my website and hitting my Roku channel and my Fire Stick and commenting and sharing and liking, and that tells me, okay, people care. They're getting this information and they're hopefully using it. They're consuming it and using it for good reasons, and that's what keeps me going because I know it's being used. I don't also ask for money because, again, you all been hosed over in your divorce or whatever. Last thing I want to be is a guy asking for money. So, and I'd be wary of anyone that asks for money. That's just me. But I also get the whole a worker is worth his what's the biblical, a worker is worth his wages or whatever. I mean, I have people ask me to make websites for them and stuff like that. I do heavy discounts because I do like to help out. But I've learned over time that whenever I give something away for free, it never ends well. So that's part of I sell. If someone needs to have a website created for their organization or something, I will charge them a heavily discounted price. Usually it's enough to cover the physical costs that I can't absorb or do for free, plus $10 for about 20 hours worth of work, just to put it in perspective. But anyway, I don't do this for money. I don't do this for whatever, but I do monitor all of the social media channels to make sure that it's being used. And if it's not being used, I'll go away and play some video games, getting right down to it. Because again, I'm not impacted by this directly. That's something that people can determine or do whatever with. And again, the caveat also is that I'm not going to take on your personal case. And while I'm whining about things, didn't want to make it whatever, but everyone thinks their case is the worst. It's not. Just to kind of throw it out there. Yeah, it's happening to you personally. It sucks. It whatever. But your case, I mean, at least the ones I've been dealing with this for almost a decade now. There are so many more that are worse than yours. That all that, and I get that it impacts you personally. That it's just unjust that you don't have your kids or they've bankrupted you and things like that. My thing, get pissed off, fix the problem, join together. I don't care if it's my organization or not. The reason I do it is I'm hoping to get a collection of people to then go to so and so judicial candidate and say, hey, if you don't get equal shared parenting, judicial, but you go to legislator. If you don't pass equal shared parenting, you're not going to be voted in next time. And have a million people behind you saying, yes, this is my number one issue. If you don't do this, you're not voted in. That's what's going to change their minds. Sitting down and talking with them and sending them emails and all this other nonsense, they already know what the situation is. You need to vote with your voting ballot. I know I went off on a completely different tangent, but that's what's going to fix this. Anyway, pulling it back around, I also have a YouTube channel. They can watch my videos. I'm also on Roku and Amazon Fire Stick. Mind you, I pay for this. I do the software and the time to learn it and to do all these things on my own dime and my own time. It's many, 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 many hours. And I would just ask that you use the information, share the information, don't steal the information and say it's yours. It's kind of insulting. We know who I'm talking about. And get the conversations going because at least in Texas, we have our voting coming up here. You can make a difference there. Or you can call your legislators. And I know I just said calling them is not going to matter, but if they get 1,000 phone calls or 10,000 phone calls about the same issue, and they all say the same thing, if you don't make this change, you will not be voted in. Stuff's going to change. I mean, I don't think of the analogy of the boss whipping the employees, and then they turn around and go and then they come back. That's how this needs to be. Don't buy into their nonsense. Again, you can go to my website, check out the legislators and things like that, and you can see, when if you get a chance to talk to Greg Abbott or Ted Cruz or any of these other guys, and they lie to you. I had I might as well say it, Phil Sorrells going for district attorney candidate for Tarrant County. I'm being told when I brought it up that he had never heard of 2503, and come to find out, he's known about it for a while. They all know about it. Again, that's everything too. They all know about this. You need to, when you're being talked to, do the research, learn that that's not the case. They know about it. They're just protecting money or process or whatever. You need to let them know. They either make the change or you vote them out. That's it. Anyway, I'll get off my hour and 36-minute live. I just got back on live after being banned for I don't know how long. I figured what the hell. But I hope you go to my site, enjoy the information, use the information to for your court case, for all those different things. And if you have ways to make it better, please reach out. I'm always trying to get make it better and easier to understand and things like that. Again, I just want what's best for the community, for the kids, and things like that. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and you all have a wonderful rest of your day.